Colleagues, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is beyond dire. Starvation has taken the lives in the north. Essential supplies are dwindling. Millions have been displaced. At this perilous moment, President Biden has called on Israel to take a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address this humanitarian crisis, protect civilians from harm, and ensure the safety of all aid workers. Israel must do more to prevent civilian casualties, immediately. And President Biden has made clear that U.S. policy will be determined by our assessment of Israel's immediate and sustained action on these steps. Israel has taken some positive steps, but not nearly enough and not quickly enough. And so the United States position is clear. Israel must take immediate action to open additional land crossings into northern Gaza. As Gaza faces imminent famine, lives hang in the balance, and every day matters. To complement and not replace additional land crossings and increase aid flowing into Gaza, the United States is working with our partners to implement a time corridor. Part of that corridor entails the establishment of a temporary pier in Gaza from which humanitarian assistance will be offloaded. We welcome the UN's commitment to help facilitate the distribution of aid delivered to Gaza via the pier. Another essential portion of the maritime corridor is the full implementation of Israeli commitments to open Ashdod for humanitarian shipments. As we understand it, assist will be shipped to Ashdod and then transported through land crossings into Gaza. This is critical, and this needs to happen right away. But it doesn't matter how much aid gets into Gaza if that aid can't get into the hands of Palestinians in dire need. The distribution of aid within Gaza is absolutely critical. The plans Senior Coordinator Kaag outlined today are vital to achieving distribution of aid at scale, and we look forward to hearing more about the UN's efforts during today's closed briefing. I want to reiterate the Biden administration's full support for Senior Coordinator Sigrid Kaag, and I again call on Israel to cooperate with the UN's efforts to facilitate the delivery of humanitarian assistance at scale. Colleagues, another factor limiting the distribution of aid has been the repeated failure of deconfliction mechanisms. Since October 7, more than 230 humanitarian workers have been killed. This is tragic and unacceptable. Deconfliction mechanisms are vital. We protect the lives of those who are working to save the lives of innocent people. And so, Israel must fully implement functional deconfliction procedures. It must. We reiterate our call for accountability for incidents in which humanitarian personnel were killed. This includes the deadly attack on World Central Kitchen personnel earlier this month. There must be an additional, independent, transparent investigation. Colleagues, as you all know, this week, Foreign Minister Colonna released her report on UNRWA. We appreciate that UNRWA has taken steps to set internal policies and address its neutrality, but more must be done. And UNRWA must undertake substantial reforms to protect its sustainability and mission. We know this will take time and resources, but implementation of the reforms outlined in Colonna's report will be critical, and the United States will work closely with the UN and other partners to ensure UNRWA carries out its duties in a neutral and balanced way for the benefit of the Palestinian people. Colleagues, I fear many have lost sight of the fact that it is Hamas that set this conflict in motion on October 7 when it carried out a heinous attack on Israel, slaughtering concertgoers, burning people alive, committing unspeakable acts of sexual violence. Let's not forget this important fact. The United States has been clear from the beginning that we fully support Israel's right to self-defense, and that support is ironclad. But we have also been clear that as Israel continues to pursue the destruction of the remaining elements of Hamas, we are opposed to a full-scale military operation in Rafah, which would have catastrophic consequences for the civilian population. We reiterate our call for Israel to produce a credible and actionable plan to protect the civilian population in Rafah and address the humanitarian needs of those who have sought refuge in the south. We are deeply concerned by the massive internal displacement within Gaza and the risk of forcible displacement from Gaza. Israel must act in compliance with its obligations under international law, full stop. Colleagues, October 7, so much suffering and pain, death and destruction has played out before our eyes on all sides of this conflict. Now more than ever, we need an immediate and sustainable ceasefire as part of a deal to release the hostages by Hamas, which will also allow us to scale up humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians. The United States is working with our partners in the region to make this possible. Hamas, however, continues to reject offers from Israel that would halt fighting and release hostages over and over and over. If Hamas accepted the offer Israel has made, it would allow for an immediate ceasefire that would benefit Palestinians now. Hamas should take this deal. If not, it should explain to the world and to the Palestinian people why they have yet to do so, because right now, Hamas is the sole obstacle to a ceasefire in Gaza. We must all call on Hamas, especially those with the most influence, to take this deal. And we must continue to work together to support the work of Senior Coordinator Sigrid Kaag and all those working to save lives in Gaza at this moment of dire need. Thank you, Madam President.
The representative of the United States, and pass the floor to Algeria.